This is Robin Williams' chart, and you can't miss that big, beautiful kite in the middle of his chart. You don't see it unless you put the aspects into the ascendant. But with him, maybe I can get that pen to try to uh, do a better job than I did last time with Katy Perry. Boy, I had a time seeing what I was doing. I like to see, let's see, okay, I guess I'm not going to do any better. That kite is pointing out that his ascendant is um, connected to his eighth house, and so it's a kite that has a lot of water energy, which is a lot of intuitive and creative energy. So his ascendant is Scorpio, and the connection, it goes connects to Uranus up here on the right hand side. I'm circling Uranus, which is in Cancer and the house of Scorpio, and that's intuitive and ingenious, and it's conjunct his Mars, which Mars is your self-image, use of the self for in an ingenious way. And it connects with this blue line here. Point out the blue line there. Connects to his, oh, wait a minute. Wasn't looking at that right. Well, ignore what I just said about that part. At the top of his chart is Mercury, and it is conjunct his midheaven, and it is in Leo, and Mercury rules the house of communications, and Pluto is right close by, so it has an effect on his communications also. And Pluto rules the house where Uranus and Mars are, so his energy and his ingeniousness and his intuitive side, and so his communications were very intuitive. And with the placement of Mercury and Pluto in the fire sign of Leo, that rules the house of entertainment, so communications, deep psychological connection to intuition regarding your communications. And also at the bottom of his chart, you see his moon, and that's conjunct his north node, and it is in the house of Pisces. And Pisces is your unconscious motivation, so his emotions were also connected to all that psychic energy that was around his communication style. He had an unusual and intuitive and ingenious way of putting across his communications, and that's what that shows. And his sun was in the ninth house of long distance. This is the sun up here in the ninth house, and that it's in the house of long distance communications, long distance and foreign travel, and the effect that you have on uh, it's philosophical, theological rules, formal religion rules, uh, long distance travel, long distance and foreign communications. So he had that tendency, because his son is there, using entertainment that reaches far and wide. So that's all shown by that. And then he may have had some unusual or darker experiences having Lilith in the house of sexuality. It can be something darkly connected with uh, a death or sexuality or some type of darker thing happened. And then his vertex was in that house also. Well, it's ruled by Gemini, and I didn't say this in Katy Perry's. I just did her reading, and it he could attract people who are sensual, but also with her and him both could attract Geminis, people with Gemini aspects, communicative aspects, and his power of fortune is in Gemini, and on a deep psychological level, he had a lot of connection to uh, unusual, energetic communicating, and that's all shown by all that's inner powers. That house is inner power, the eighth house. So but it's also who he, because it's ruled by, for him, it's ruled by Cancer. Cancer is your home and your mother, so there could be some connection to his home where he became, and to his mother as to why he became as ingenious as he was in his style of how he put himself out into the public. And what else do I see? He's got Venus, and that is conjunct his south node, and so Venus is rules the voice, and it rules like you could have a good singing voice if you have Venus in good aspect. And he's got Taurus on his descendant, which, that's funny. His lineup of planets is almost the same as where Katy Perry's were, but I mean, not his lineup of planets, but his lineup of signs. He has the Taurus descendant, which she had also. So with Venus conjunct his south node, that's what you're moving away from. So maybe he didn't have the love life that he wanted, or maybe he it was in Virgo, and that's daily tasks and mundane, your work with your hands, and uh, what you, how you caretake and so forth. So he had, with Venus there, with his, it's money that you earn through your own efforts, or your luxuries and your food that you like. And so somehow he was really not interested in being maybe tedious about so details, or he may have felt less connected to mundane tasks than the normal person, and more into his creative life, which is what his North Node shows, which is in Pisces. And that he may have had a hard time sometimes connecting to the concrete world, because Virgo and Taurus, which rules Venus, are both concrete signs. They're earth signs. They're down to earth signs. So maybe he had more lived in his imagination, and he had an emotional connection to his imagination by having his moon and north node in Pisces down at the bottom of the chart there. And I'm sitting here trying to move around that thing that circles. Okay. Okay, so Saturn, which I'm circling here, is in his 11th house of usually ruled by Aquarius. It's the house that rules society at large, and so his career would be connected to society at large, and maybe a father figure, or he probably was less connected to his father because of the South Node being in that same sign, which is the placement that Virgo, which rules work and daily tasks and organization and so forth. But so his career was meant to affect society at large. And if you'll see this, there is a blue line, which is an easy aspect between Saturn and his Uranus and Mars, or no, between his sun it is. So that's connects his career to his how he shows up in his entertainment. And then Neptune there in Libra, in his house of society, may have that was the use of imagination to affect society, because that's the house of society at large, and also your friendships. And he loved people. Libra is a sign that, you know, your partnerships and um, uh, a feeling of connection to partnerships and marriage. It's any kind of partnership Libra rules, and so he had this unconscious motivation to be connected to partners and basically be fair and just and kind to people. And his descendant also shows that, because it's ruled by, and this is the descendant over here, opposite of the ascendant, which is his is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, the planet of love. So he loved people. He was loved partnerships. And then he had his Jupiter, which rules far distance and long distance and foreign communications and connections and theology and philosophy and all things traveling, all long distance communications. And so it's, for him, it's in Aries, which rules the self image. So he used his, and it's in his 5th house of entertainment. So he used his self to affect and communicate on a large scale. And so that's what that all shows. Now his inner world, and whoops, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so his inner world there, down at the bottom, the Imam Kweli is, he had this ingenious inner world, or unusual inner world. That's your roots. And I said the same thing about Katy Perry. It's just odd that their planets line up almost identical. Um, I mean, not planets, they're signs. The houses are a little different, but where the Imam Kweli and the midheaven, of course, that's pretty usual to have Leo at the top of the chart in a famous person or someone that's going to be affecting society at large. And where you see his Chiron, that's the last thing I haven't talked about, is over here in his second house of, for him, it's ruled by Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the one that affects society at large and affects not society at large, affects long distance and foreign communications and your theology and philosophy and so forth. And so he may have felt like he couldn't heal his affect. He may have felt like he didn't affect people as much as he did, or uh, was never quite happy with how he affected others, but others felt happy with what he expressed. And you see, the thing with Chiron is that it's where you cannot heal yourself, but it's the wounded healer. You cannot heal yourself, but you heal other people. And so it's like his way of creating money he may have felt was not quite something that he was happy about, and but it obviously pleased other people. I mean, I'm as I'm thinking this out, I'm thinking how he was always making sure that someone that was less fortunate was going to be in his shows and so forth. He always picked someone to be, so maybe he always felt a little guilty about having, and that could be what Chiron shows there, a little guilty about the way he obtained money so easily from his gifts, from his talent, from his genius way of communicating. And so, and that's what I kind of assess that as. Um, yeah, very psychic man, very intuitive, and he was gifted, and it was very ingenious. Anyway, I think that's all for this one. So thanks for listening.